are gonna trouble the water. See that band all dressed in white. Gods are gonna trouble the water. The leader looks like the Israelite. Gods are gonna trouble the water. Ooh, wade in the water. Oh, wade in the water. Children, wade in the water. God is gonna trouble. Gods are gonna trouble the water. Oh, see that band all dressed in red. Gods are gonna trouble the water. Ooh, it looks like the band that Moses led. Gods are gonna trouble the water. Oh, wade in the water. Oh, wade in the water. Children, in the water. God is gonna trouble. Yes, He will. Hello. Shalom, shalom. Welcome. Welcome to another Thirsty Thursday. Thirst after righteousness, history, education. First and foremost, we always give, praises to the Most High God, Hashua HaMashiach, who is everything to us, our provider, our covering, right? Once again, I'm coming to you on Thursday for history education. Here with Women Abiding in the Word of Yah #movement, because we know that knowledge is power, right? So I hope you're enjoying, Thirsty Thursday, which is history education. We just touch base on a little bit of, history every Thursday, which is, streaming from our Facebook page, which is Women Abiding in the Word of Yah #movement, and also our YouTube page. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. Please like our Facebook page. It's myself and my wonderful mentor, Queen Kendrick. We are just coming here, bringing you truth here on an assignment to teach, to educate, and teach the people the Word of Yah, and also educate on history. Okay. All right. So for Thirsty Thursday, we do have a focus scripture, which is the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 6. And the word says, "Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled." Okay. Once again, welcome. For these last couple months, we've been touching base on Harriet Tubman. So please, I encourage you to go back and, look at the other videos. Today's topic for today, we're going to talk a little bit about the Underground Railroad. Okay. We're still, also bringing up Harriet. We've been talking about her for a while, but now we're at the point where she's at, the Underground Railroad, understanding, what the Underground Railroad is, So let's bring that out today. Okay. So I am going to read you something I had pulled according from the Wikipedia online. It kind of tells you a little bit about the Underground Railroad, and we'll talk about some pinpoints with the Underground Railroad as well for this history education course class. Okay. Oh, and I'm Queen Kimberly, if I didn't say that already. All right. So the Underground Railroad was a network of secret routes and safe houses, okay, established in the United States during the early to mid 19th century. It was used by enslaved African Americans primarily to escape into free states. Okay, and we're gonna take a look at a cool map about what the free states are. Show your children this map, because you'll see what the free states were in the states that were in slavery, right? So primarily to escape into free states and to Canada. Okay, the network was assisted by abolitionists and other sympathetic to the cause of the escapees, which were the slaves that were, escaping, right? This entire network was it called the Underground Railroad. Few people knew about it. Some people did not. There were a lot of conductors. It was just a secret routes, safe houses for the slaves to take this path onto freedom during the Atlantic slave trade. Okay. And Harriet Tubman was a huge part of the Underground Railroad. Okay. We're talking about the slaves who risked their lives by escaping, and these people aided them, were collectively referred to as the Underground Railroad. So we're talking safe houses, people's basements, right? Even on the back of, let's say, a horse with, what do they call it? Like a carriage of hay, the slaves had underneath, all different races of people were helping the slaves, like in the process of the Underground Railroad, right? Like during this time when Harriet was in a cotton field, I read this on an article, and also a lot of her statements, when she was in a cotton field, when she was a young girl, she could hear, she had an ear to hear. So she could hear, the slave masters, and also, people who came to visit, the big house that she was, in a cotton field at. She would hear them talking about the word on the street about the Underground Railroad, slaves escaping. She heard these things, right? So that kind of gives you a detailed, information about what the Underground Railroad is. But I want to finish reading this to you as well, right? It also says an earlier escape route running south from Florida, then a Spanish possession, which was, it says, except 1763 to 83, and existed from the late 17th century until it began the 18th century, right? It ran north and grew steadily until the Emancipation Proclamation was signed by President Abraham Lincoln, right? So the Underground Railroad was steady around this time. You tell children and you say, hey, what's the Underground Railroad? They may think it's an actual railroad, and it's not, right? So I say, let's pull these things out. Let's talk about these things, besides certain months, that everything comes out. Let's say Black History Month, right? Let's talk about these things all year round, and let's educate our children all year round. And that's what we're here for. I said the word safe house, right? So what is a safe house, right? Like, could you think about that as a slave? If you were a slave or your ancestors were slaves, like, what is a safe house, right? It is a generic sense. It's a secret place to hide people from the law, right? From the law that was going on around this time that, Black African Americans were considered slaves, right? These people were risking their lives. They were risking everything they had, and they were helping people, which was absolutely amazing because these slaves had safe houses that they can go to, right? They knew it was safe at this house. They could sleep there overnight, get a good meal, get back out there and walk on foot. They may give them clothes, just a safe house. So that's what a safe house was. I had a wonderful encounter with a reporter, and I found out so much information about one of the safe houses here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which I will bring out mostly during the next Thirsty Thursday, but I'll tell you towards the end. But, one of them is still standing here in Pittsburgh. We know nothing about, unless you research it. But we'll talk more about that towards the end and also next Thursday. So that's what a safe house is, right? Free states. So the Underground Railroad also associated with free states. Now, remind you, up north, some of the states, some of those particular states, the slaves were free. Down south, they were not. They were still in slavery. So I want to share this map with you, right? what does it mean to be an abolitionist, right? Definition of abolitionist is someone who wants a particular practice to stop, right? These people were not agreeing with slavery. They knew this was wrong to treat a human being this way, right? So that's what an abolitionist is. There's so many of them. Do your research. Harriet Tubman, yes, she is one of them. Do your research, figure out, maybe even look in your state and see some of these people, or maybe if someone had a safe house, these are people who were just like, no, no, this is not right. And it's okay to go against things that are not right. Even right now in 2022, we're talking about slavery back in the 1700s. It's just all about standing up for what's right and what's wrong. So you have a voice at the end of the day. The choice is how to use your voice, right? So think about that. All right. Also talk about the Emancipation and Proclamation, that was signed by President Abraham Lincoln around that time. So for some of us who don't know, I'll give you the definition of this. For some of us who do know, if you want to add comments, feel free to add comments, message below. I definitely love the encouragement and the feedback. What I got offline, according once again to the Wikipedia, it was an executive order issued by United States President Abraham Lincoln on January 1st, 1863, during the Civil War, right? So the proclamation changed the legal status of more than 3.5 enslaved African Americans, who we call blacks, right? In the Confederate States from the enslaved to be free. As soon as a slave escaped the control of his or her own owner, either by running away across Union lines or through the advance of federal troops, the person was permanently free. Let me read that to you again. It says, as soon as a slave escaped the control of his or her owner, either by running away across Union lines or through the advance of federal troops, the person was permanently free. Just listen to that sentence, right? Running away. Think about it. Sometimes we don't think about these things. We just wake up and it's just like, oh, here's the world. Here I am. Sometimes you really got to sit back and think and learn and just take a breath and just be like, wow, look at Harriet behind me right here. You know what I mean? Just little things like that. It takes you back and, just make you grateful for every day that you're waking up in the morning, because these things was happening. Can you imagine living around these times? Right? So just think about that. All right. So we're at about 15-minute mark. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out, but I want to give you some quick facts about Harriet Tubman. All right. We've been talking about her. I love her. I love her movement. I love her vision. I love her dream. I just love her as a spiritually individual, because she was an amazing woman. She really was. And if you really study her and really get into the core of her life, like we have been these last couple of months, you'll just be like, wow, makes you feel a little bit empowered, makes you want to, maybe do a little bit more, encourage somebody else, So I want to give you some quick facts about Harriet Tubman before we close. Reminder, Harriet Tubman, I can tell you, her birth name was Araminta Minty Ross, okay? She married John Tubman, and that she switched her name to Harriet Tubman when she married John Tubman, and she took the first name of her mother. Her mother's name was Harriet, right? She was a leading abolitionist before the American Civil War. Tubman also helped the Union Army during the war, and she worked as a spy among those roles, okay? She also was a nurse, right? So look into that. Like, she was a nurse, she was a spy, she was the first woman and African American to help lead an army in the Civil War, okay? So those are quick tips. Powerful. This did not happen, but in 2016, the U.S. Treasury Department pronounced announced that Harriet Tubman will replace Andrew Jackson on the center of the new $20 bill. Now that never happened, but it was announced that it would happen, but it hasn't happened, right? Like we said before, Tubman was the first woman to lead an armed expedition during the Civil War. She guided the Combahee River, which liberated more than 700 slaves in South Carolina, Dorchester County, Maryland, and Albany, New York. All right. So I hope you enjoyed Thirsty Thursday, Thirst After Righteousness, just a little bit of information on the Underground Railroad. When we come back next week, we will be touching base on conductors, okay? And the one abolitionist, I always stutter when I say that word, and conductor who I'm going to bring out next week is Thomas Bigham. Here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. His house is still standing. Do the research. We're going to talk about it. And yes, Harriet lodged there. Is it brought out a lot? Absolutely not. I went there, took pictures, I filmed the place. Absolutely amazing. Such a wonderful thing to, still show our youth, to kind of go up there if you're here in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area. So we're going to be talking about conductors next week. I want to close with, taking myself out of the screen, but also letting you know who these people are behind me. I have this backdrop up for a while, but we do know that this is Harriet Tubman right here, if you take a look at her in her older days. But I'm going to tell you who the other people are, okay? All right. Well, I have fun. I hope you learned something that you can share with your youth and, even with each other. So thank you for watching Thirsty Thursday, Thirst After Righteousness, and I look forward to seeing you next week. All right, so as I say that, I am going to take myself out, and I'm just going to tell you who these people are, and then I'll close. All right, so if you can still see the screen, okay, we're going to go from the left to the right, okay? So we have Harriet Tubman, who's holding, looks like a bowl in her hand, maybe. So Harriet Tubman. Right next to Harriet is her adopted daughter. I believe we're saying her name right. It's Gertie Davis. Right next to Gertie, the man with the hat, looks like he might have a cigar in his mouth, is Nelson Davis. That's Harriet's second husband, right? Next to him is Lee Cheney. Next to him, Lee Cheney, which looks like it's a little girl. Next to the little girl, Pop. They call him Pop Alexander, right? And then we have Walter Green. He's standing up with that nice little vest on there and standing there. And then we have Sarah Parker. They call her Blind Auntie Parker. And Dora Stewart. You know what? Dora Stewart is actually not standing in this picture, but she is in a picture that I have. Woo, which is a little different. I've never seen that before, but she's cut out of this picture. But there is someone sitting next to the lady who is Blind Auntie Parker. Okay. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. And the girl who's actually standing next to the blonde lady who's not in this picture, her name is Dora Stewart. And it says she was the granddaughter of Tubman's brother, John Stewart. Interesting. All right. Well, I look forward to seeing you next Thursday. Thank you so much for your time. Bye.